First story, the thing that sleeps across from me. I moved into the veteran housing complex outside Lubbock, Texas, just after my divorce. It wasn't much, bare walls, thin mattresses, yellowed blinds that let in too much light in the day, and not enough privacy at night. But it was cheap, and it was quiet. I figured I could stay for a few months while I got my life back together. They assigned me a roommate, an old man named Walter Greaves. He had this stiff posture and a face that looked like it had been carved out of bark. Deep lines, milky eyes, and skin like paper. He didn't talk much, just nodded when we met and went about his business. At first, I thought maybe he was deaf, or just didn't like people. I should have taken the smell as a warning. It wasn't the usual old man smell, no mothballs or stale cigarettes. It was metallic, sour, and heavy, like rusted iron soaked in vinegar. I thought maybe something had died in the walls, or maybe the plumbing was shot. Maintenance came and checked, found nothing. Then I started hearing it. Late at night, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning, I'd wake up to this wet, sloshing sound, like someone stirring thick soup or chewing something soft and wet. I'd sit up in bed, heart racing, straining to hear. But by the time I focused, it'd stop. I figured maybe Walter had bad dentures, or maybe he was just losing it. War had done worse to better men. But then I saw his mouth. One night I rolled over and caught a glimpse of him sitting up in his bed, directly across from me. The room was dark except for the glow of the parking lot lights bleeding in through the blinds, just enough to make out his silhouette. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking straight ahead, into nothing. But his mouth, it hung open. Black, viscous fluid dripped from it in slow, thick strands. It hit his bare chest with a wet plop and trailed down into his shirt. His jaw didn't move. It just hung there. The liquid seemed endless. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't make a sound. I lay back down and closed my eyes tight, pretending to sleep. Morning came, and he was up, making coffee like nothing had happened. The shirt he wore was fresh, no stains, no sign of what I'd seen. Maybe I dreamed it. But every night after that, I stayed awake. I watched him, and it got worse. His face began to change. At first, it was subtle. His skin sagged more than before. His eyes turned darker, like someone had poured ink into his pupils. Then came the bones, twisting, jutting out in strange angles under his flesh like they were growing in the wrong direction. Some nights, his jaw would stretch wider than it should have been able to, skin tearing slightly at the corners before sealing up again by morning. I stopped sleeping entirely. I'd sit in bed all night with the covers pulled to my chin, watching his bed like it might sprout claws and drag me inside. Then, one night, he noticed me. He turned slowly, neck cracking like a dried-out branch. His eyes locked onto mine. "You see it now, don't you?" he whispered. His voice wasn't old. It wasn't even human. I bolted from the bed, stumbled into the hallway, and nearly fell down the stairs. I spent the rest of the night sitting in the lobby under the fluorescent lights with a vending machine buzzing beside me. I told the staff I wanted a new room. They told me Walter had been there for years. Quiet man. Never caused trouble. I insisted. They told me the complex was full. No room. That night, I bought a heavy-duty lock from the hardware store and installed it on the inside of our door. Didn't matter. I woke up to find it removed. Neatly unscrewed, every bolt placed in a perfect pile on my nightstand. Walter was already up, humming a tune I couldn't place. Something off-key. Something old. The next night, I pretended to sleep. He rose from his bed like a marionette on invisible strings. His limbs jerked oddly as he walked across the room toward me. The black goo dripped from his mouth in long strands, pooling on the floor. His fingers stretched longer with each step. He leaned over me, mouth inches from my face. His breath smelled like rot and burning hair. "You taste like someone I used to know," he whispered. I swung the lamp into his face. It shattered, but he didn't bleed, just flinched and backed away, hissing. I ran. I don't remember leaving the building. I don't remember stealing the neighbor's truck. I just remember driving until the sun rose, the horizon bleeding red across the Texas plains. I live in my car now. I don't sleep in the same place twice. I don't go near veterans' homes, and I check every roommate's mouth before I close my eyes. But every so often, maybe once a month, I wake up and find a trail of black ooze outside my window, and a whisper in the dark, Found you. Second story, she sleeps beside me, but she's not who she was. My name is Aaron Caldwell. I moved into this old duplex in Albany, New York, about 2 months ago. Rent was cheap, neighborhood quiet, and the house, though creaky and ancient, had a charm I couldn't resist. My roommate, Meredith, was already living there. She was in her 60s, gray hair always tied up in a bun, and moved like someone half her age. Odd, sure, but kind. I needed a place. She needed someone to split the bills. Simple. At first, everything was fine. She cooked a lot. Southern dishes like cornbread, collard greens, and black-eyed peas. Said it reminded her of her home in Georgia. We'd chat some evenings. She told me she never married, never had kids. Just me and my stories, she'd say, staring off like she was listening to voices I couldn't hear. But by the third week, something shifted. One night, I came home late. The house was dark, except for a flickering light under Meredith's door. I tiptoed past but heard something. No, someone talking in her room. The voice was deep, wet, unnatural. I pressed my ear to the wood. "She's not ready yet?" it gurgled. Then silence. I didn't sleep well that night. Neither did the next. Meredith started acting strange. Her skin, when pale and smooth, began to gray and sag. Her eyes seemed cloudy. Her smile, God, that smile was too wide, like her cheeks had stretched. She still cooked, but now the meals smelled wrong, like raw meat and copper. I caught her staring at me from the hallway once. Her lips were moving, but no sound came out. I asked what she was doing. She just grinned. "You're almost ready, too," she whispered. I began locking my bedroom door. I'd hear her pacing outside, dragging her feet, muttering in that wet, choking voice. Once, I looked through the crack under the door. Something thick and black dripped onto the floor from her mouth, hissing as it touched the wood. I bought a lock for my window. I stopped eating anything she made. I stopped talking to her. But I couldn't leave. My car battery died, and every attempt to get a ride or call someone failed. My phone would glitch when I tried. Emails unsent, messages unread. I called the landlord. "There's no Meredith there," he said. That place was empty for years. I hung up. He was wrong. That night, I woke up to whispering inside my room. She stood at the foot of my bed. "You shouldn't have called him," she said. "He'll see now." I screamed, but no one came. No neighbors, no sirens, just her, smiling. Her face, if you could call it that, started to peel. Her skin loosened like it didn't belong to her. Her eyes sank inward, and something else pushed from underneath. Her jaw unhinged with a wet pop, and from her mouth, thick tendrils of black ooze snaked across my floor. I scrambled, grabbed my desk lamp, smashed it over her head. It exploded in sparks, and for a second she shrieked, a horrible metallic sound like a car wreck underwater. I dove out the window, cutting my arms on the frame, and ran barefoot into the street. No one believed me. The police found nothing. No black slime, no evidence, no Meredith. But every night since, I hear her whispering outside my window. "You're still mine, Aaron." I don't sleep. I can't move again. I tried. Every time I go far enough, I hear her in the radio. The shower, the wind. She's part of me now, because I slept beside her, and she's not done yet. It all started during my second semester at Western Oregon University. I was assigned a new roommate, an older guy named Travis Rourke. He was probably in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, which was odd for a college dorm. But I was told he was some kind of late bloomer, or maybe back for a second degree. Whatever. I just wanted peace and quiet. From the first night, I knew something was off. Travis didn't unpack. His suitcase stayed zipped up by the corner of the bed. He didn't decorate. No posters, no books, not even a toothbrush on the sink. But the strangest thing? Every night at exactly 10:30, he'd switch off the lights and mutter something under his breath before crawling into bed, fully clothed, boots and all. At first, I thought maybe it was some PTSD ritual or religious thing. I didn't ask. We barely talked anyway. But then came the noises. I'd wake up around 2 or 3 in the morning and hear whispering. Not Travis talking in his sleep. No, it was like multiple voices. But when I sat up and looked around, Travis would be lying there, stiff as a corpse, staring at the ceiling. One night, I decided to record. I left my phone on voice memo under my pillow. The next morning, I played it back and nearly threw up. There were whispers, yes, but they were in some guttural, clicking language. Nothing human. And then, laughter. high-pitched, wet laughter. Right before the clip cut off, I heard my name whispered from what sounded like inside my closet. I confronted Travis. He didn't say a word, just stared at me, eyes wide, pupils dilated. Then he whispered, "Don't ask them questions, they notice when you speak back." I decided I'd sleep somewhere else for a few nights. The RA gave me the couch in the lounge. But that night, I had a dream. I was in our dorm room, and Travis was gone. But something else was there. Tall, skin stretched tight over bones, its face a blur of mouths and hollow eye sockets. It whispered in Travis's voice, "You left the door open." I woke up screaming. The RA kicked me out of the lounge. I came back to the room the next day. Travis wasn't there, but his boots were lined up perfectly at the end of his bed, the laces tied in a noose. Then I noticed it. The closet was cracked open. Something was moving inside. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept toward it. When I opened the door, all the lights in the room blew out. My phone screen went black, and then Travis's face. No, not his face anymore. Something bloated, twisted, with his eyes melted shut and his jaw unhinged like a broken puppet, lunged at me. I must have blacked out. I woke up in the infirmary. They said I had a seizure, but I don't have epilepsy. Never did. Travis? They told me there's no record of him ever being assigned to my dorm. But the boots were still there. I tried to report everything. Nobody believed me. Said I was stressed, hallucinating. That was 2 weeks ago. Now every night when the lights go off at 10:30, I hear whispers from my closet. And last night, someone tied my shoelaces into nooses. Tonight I'm not sleeping. Tonight I'm watching. If I don't make it, check room 17. Leave the lights on. Please. Fourth story, the thing that shared my room. It was supposed to be temporary, just a few weeks until I could afford my own place. That's what I told myself as I moved into that worn-down 2-bedroom apartment in Syracuse, New York. The ad said the roommate was a retired man, quiet, kept to himself. Perfect. I needed peace. I needed silence to study. I needed to forget the things I was running from back in Houston. The landlord didn't mention how strange the roommate was. His name was Arthur Lorne, 70-something, thin as bone, and always wearing this moth-eaten sweater no matter how hot it got. He barely spoke. He just sat in the living room most of the time, staring at the wall or mumbling to himself. First night, I tried small talk. He looked at me, not through me, but past me, like he was watching something else behind me. That was the first time I felt it, the sense that something was just over my shoulder. At night, Arthur made these noises. Not snores, not really. It was more like wet breathing, shallow and fast, with little choking gasps. I thought it was a health thing, but then I started hearing footsteps in the hallway when I knew he was asleep. One night, I got up to pee. I passed his room. The door was open a crack, and I couldn't help but peek in. What I saw wasn't just Arthur lying in bed. It was something next to him. Black, glimmering, like a shadow with oilskin. It bent over his face, and I swear, it was whispering. I told myself I was overtired. Stress, exams, long days. But every night after I heard it, whispers, slurps, breaths that didn't match his own. And the smell, this stench of meat left too long in the sun. It clung to the hallway like mold. Then came the incident. One night, I locked myself in my room, shoved a chair under the handle. Around 3 a.m., I heard the creaking again. My door handle jiggled once, twice, then stopped. Then came a knock. Not fast or loud, just one heavy thump. I didn't answer. Then the whisper came from right behind my door. "You don't belong here." It wasn't Arthur's voice. The next morning, Arthur was in the kitchen like nothing happened. He offered me eggs. I noticed his fingers were longer, bony, his nails black around the edges. He smiled and his teeth were pink, too pink. I skipped class. I searched for anything online. Demon roommates, roommate possession, night creatures. I came up with legends, cryptids, horror stories, but nothing that explained what Arthur had become. The final night was the worst. I came home late from the library and the apartment was dark, dead silent. As I opened the door, I heard wet breathing. Not from his room, from mine. I flipped the light. No one there. My bed was soaked, not water. It smelled like blood. Then I turned and Arthur was standing in the hallway, completely still, eyes black and dripping. His mouth hung open too wide, and something slithered from it, a black tongue, slick with oil. I ran. I didn't pack. I didn't take my wallet. I left that place and never went back. A week later, I saw a new ad online. Roommate wanted. Quiet, retired man, will not disturb. Same address, same name. But the photo, it wasn't Arthur. Not really. It looked like him, but the eyes, they were pitch black, and something was smiling behind him. He listens without ears. I never thought I'd say this, but I miss having a normal roommate. Someone who steals my milk or plays loud music. Hell, I'd even take a snorer. Anything but him. It started when I transferred to Lone Valley University in Central Oregon. Tight budget, no dorms left, and barely any time before classes began. So I took the first listing I found. Roommate wanted. Quiet house, cheap rent. That last part got me. The place was this old one-story off Hawthorne Drive, all sagging wood and crooked blinds. My new roommate, Caleb, met me outside. He was pale, real pale, like he hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Tall and thin, with dark clothes and long sleeves even in the heat. But the first thing I noticed and couldn't stop staring at was this. He had no ears. Just smooth skin where ears should have been. I tried not to stare, but how could I not? He caught me looking and said, in this flat, even voice, car accident, long story. I nodded, awkward. Didn't want to be rude. I figured maybe he was just shy, or maybe he had implants or something. I didn't ask. Should I have? Yeah, but I didn't. The house was eerily quiet. No hum of appliances, no birds outside. It was like the walls swallowed sound. Caleb showed me to my room, small but decent. He said his room was across the hall and to please not come in. Ever. Privacy helps me sleep, he added. That first night, I barely slept. I kept hearing faint scratching. Not like mice, more like fingernails on drywall. I got up around 3 a.m. to use the bathroom and saw Caleb standing in the hallway. Not moving, not blinking, just standing. Everything okay? I asked. He nodded once. Bad dreams, he muttered. The next morning, I found long grooves scratched into the hallway wall, like something had been clawing from the inside. I asked Caleb about them. He just shrugged and said he must have done it sleepwalking. The second week, things got worse. I'd wake up to my door slightly open, even though I locked it. My phone recorded weird audio overnight, mumbling, breathing, and a low humming sound. And always that scratching noise. One night, I stayed up, pretended to sleep. Around 2:45 a.m., I heard my door creak open. Through the slit, I saw Caleb crawling. Yes, crawling. On all fours, but wrong. His limbs bent at odd angles. His neck tilted like it was too long. And he whispered right outside my door. I can still hear them in the walls. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Eventually, he slithered back down the hallway. The next day, I packed my stuff. Tried to leave, but when I got to the door, the knob was gone. Just flat wood where it used to be. Can't leave yet, Caleb said behind me. They haven't finished with you. I spun around. He stood too close to it, his face twitching. His skin rippled like there were things moving underneath. Who? I whispered. He smiled. His mouth was too wide. Too many teeth. The ones in the silence. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom. Tried to climb out the window, but it was bricked up from the outside. I didn't sleep. Just sat and waited. Around 4 a.m., the lights died. Then came the tapping. Soft at first, then harder. From the walls. From the ceiling. From the mirror. When I looked into the mirror, I didn't see myself. I saw Caleb, earless, grinning. You can't hear them, he screamed, voice distorted, but they hear you. The mirror cracked. I blacked out. I woke up on the floor of my room. Daylight streaming in, door wide open. Everything. Normal. Caleb was gone. His room, empty. No furniture. No bed. Just claw marks all over the walls and the words scratched deep into the paint. He listens without ears. I moved out that day. No one had a record of a Caleb ever living there. The landlord said I was the only tenant. The place had been vacant for years. But sometimes, late at night, when it's very quiet, I still hear scratching, and I know he's still listening.